Pablo Picasso was 56 when he painted Guernica. Da Vinci painted Last Supper at 46. Van Gogh painted his dreamy sky in Starry Night at the age of 36. And at the young age of 26, Salvador Dali imagined and created one of the greatest masterpieces of the 20th century. This painting is the Persistence of Memory. This oil-on-canvas painting was painted in 1931 during the height of the Surrealist movement. Salvador Dali was born in 1904 in Figueres, Spain. From an early age, he loved painting and art, and later he went on to the Art Academy in Madrid. After studying at and graduating from this academy, he was able to go to Paris. In Paris, he was able to meet and work with some of the most famous painters such as Picasso and Miro in the 1920s. This led to his Surrealist phase. La Persistencia de la Memoria, as he would call it, and as it is formally known, the Persistence of Memory is by far his most credible and well-known work, and is the apogee of what was the Surrealist movement of the 1930s and 40s. Unfortunately, though, when Francisco Franco came to power, he was expelled from the Surrealist movement. This did not stop him, however, from continuing painting until his death in 1989. In the Persistence of Memory, there are a few main things that stand out. The melting clocks, the lone figure in the middle, the seaside cliffs, the barren landscape, and the ants. We see these things so quickly because of the artistic form. The lines in the painting lead the viewer in and around the painting. They are the basic structure of the composition and really take you into the space of the painting. The tone of the painting could be otherworldly and mysterious. It's almost desert-like and dreamy. The tone is highlighted by the color. The color is not overly bright or monochromatic, which is one way it can be viewed as a dreamscape. The textures inside the painting are smooth and streamlined, also very dreamlike in quality. There is a lot of space in this small area, seeming to go on for miles. The tree seems in an unreal place, on top of a table almost, and standing out against the water. The form is loose, in between reality and fiction. For example, the melting clocks. In reality, the clocks never melt. They would just disintegrate in fire or heat. The movement is fluid but almost slow, yet not stagnant. It's almost as if a recollection of a memory or trying to remember a dream after just having woken up. Although the painting is surreal, there is a very traditional sense of balance to it, and this balance is shown in the symmetry. Overall, the objects are quite symmetrical, yet not completely. The mountain on the right counterbalances the pool and the tree on the left. However, the pocket watch with the ants has no counterpart. The artistic form lends to the content and the meaning of this content. The painting is meant to be a dreamlike state. Do you ever wake up thinking it's still late in the night, and yet you come to find out it's very early in the morning and you're supposed to be getting up? Well, according to LegoMenon.com, that's what the melting clocks represent. They show how little time is needed inside dreams and how time just melts away as we sleep. Another part of the painting, the seaside cliffs, are from Catalonia, Spain, close to where Dali grew up. The third main portion of the painting is the creature laying in the center. According to MoMA.org, it is something purely out of his imagination, especially because of the long eyelashes and the tongue coming out of the nose-like shape. Also, according to MoMA.org, some critics say that this is an exact representation of the side of Dali's face. Therefore, it is a self-portrait represented inside of his dreams. The final piece of the painting are the ants. The ants are almost like eating away at time and at the dream itself. Time especially because they are sitting on a pocket watch. For my poster, I tried to incorporate the main things in my presentation and about the painting itself. On it, I have the key parts of Dali's life, his birth, his death, the Surrealist movement date that he started it, and the painting Persistence of Memory date that he painted it. I also have the painting in the center of my poster with dreamy, sleepy Z's around it to represent the painting. I put some of the artistic form pictures around: form, space, movement, color, tone, and texture. And finally, I put the hands of clocks. I chose to put the key information about Dali: his birth, May 11, 1904, his death, January 23, 1989, the Surrealist movement in the 1920s, 30s, and 40s, and the painting of the Persistence of Memory in 1931, and his picture, to represent and truly show Dali and his life, and the crazy man that painted such an interesting picture. I put the painting in the center in order to highlight it and show exactly what I'm talking about and what everything represents. The Z's around it show the dreamy state. They also show the idea of sleeping and memory as a dream. The artistic form pictures represent form, which is loose and unreal, such as the clocks, and just the idea of how melty everything seems. The space being so broad in such a tiny picture, the cliffs being so far back and yet they seem 4 miles away, even though we couldn't see them from there, but in a painting it looks like that. The movement being fluid and slow, the clocks just melting very softly, and the painting of the water in the background being very flowy. The color being bright in the back, yet still dark enough to highlight certain areas, as well as the tone showing shadows and giving rise to bring your eye to the melting clocks and to the ants and to the figure laying in the center. And the texture being smooth but rough at the same time, rough in the cliffs and rough on the tree itself with its broken branch at the very top. And finally, I put the hands of clocks to represent the time and the clocks itself, the basic part of the painting that everyone seems to know this by is the melting clocks. So in conclusion, Dali was born in 1904 and painted this oil on canvas painting in 1931. Major subject matters include the melting clocks, the figure in the center, the seaside cliffs, and the ants on the pocket watch. There are many dreamlike qualities of the artistic form, and memory and time play a key role in the painting itself. And finally, the poster I created is a representation of the painting itself, Dali, and my presentation.